Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Cask Talk. And I am Paul, a beer enthusiast. This is Dave, a certified beer judge and home brewer. This evening we are going to be drinking the Four Peaks Hop Knot. Why? Because...
No, we're not, actually.
Oh,
but good
I
try.
screwed it up, didn't I? Four Peaks Joy Bus. Wow, excuse me. Think I'd get that straight by now. Done enough of these episodes. Anyway, this beer...
Not a fan of the label.
No, but...
It's kind of a boring label.
The beer's decent, though.
Yeah, we'll find.
I'm familiar with the beer. Dave's not familiar with the beer. I've noticed when Four Peaks comes out with a new brew, because they're here local in Tempe, that it tends to show up at all the bars that carry Four Peaks brews. So...
I don't frequent the bars as much as you do.
Yeah, Dave's a much higher class than I am.
It's because I'm married.
I'm not.
But I am familiar with the style, the Weiss beer style, probably Belgian Weiss style type beers, wheat, with that orange and possibly coriander kind of notes. I'm a big fan of wheat beers, so I really like wheat beers, so I'm really thinking that if you like it, I'm probably going to love it.
Yeah, no, this is a good beer. I've drinking this over many other options when I've been out and seen what's on the taps, so don't expect that I'll be knocking it. One thing we do have to say is the beer is a 5% ABV and it's an 8 IBU.
Yeah, and that's pretty typical. So the IBU is the International Bittering Unit. It is a not known to be a bitter beer. They're usually drank in the spring and summer. Refreshing. That's why you get that orange and the wheat. A lot of wheat beers are very light generally. A little bit of graininess to the flavor. So it's a great summer beer.
Yeah. So without further ado, we'll crack these suckers open.
All right. And I was looking around, and the only big tall glass that I had was my Medieval Times glass. If you've ever been, it's a great time. It's one in LA, Vegas, Phoenix. I'm sure there's other places. Known to be very highly carbonated and typically a really good head on them.
It's not that carbonated, actually, from my experience.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, mine's pretty carbonated, but it didn't have much of a head. Really light with yours.
Well, I also dumped mine off pretty hard, so...
Yeah, we're planning on doing another Weiss beer after this, so it'll be interesting to kind of compare it. This is obviously American style. This is going to be an American version, so it's kind of hard to hold it to any sort of other standards, but...
Yeah, it's a cloudy color. It's a nice color if you want to show them in the light.
Yeah, let's kick the light on. Whoa, holy moly.
Wow.
Is that bright?
We're failing left and right here.
Let's see if
there
we
you go.
can do it that way. Yeah, you can kind of see that.
And this color is typical of your Shock Top and your Blue Moon.
Yeah.
And a lot of your other American wheat beers.
Yeah, very much like a Blue Moon or a Shock Top. So really, wow, you smell right off the bat.
Yeah, it's got an orange smell right away.
I mean, not even just
citrusy.
like when you have a beer with those orange kind of flavors or lemon kind of flavors in them. Usually you're like, okay, that's lemon, but this is
this hits you in the face with the citrus.
Yeah, it has a very sharp citrusy kind of smell to it.
Yeah, not much lacing on the glass either with this, so it's not a high protein beer, which is to be expected with 5% anyway.
Yeah. Wow, the smell is really enticing.
Yeah, it's pleasant. It's a good beer. So it's a lot like Shock Top would be if it had a lot more orange for people who have drinking Shock Top or Blue Moon. If you had 3 oranges in it, you'd get more of that citrus, but at that point you'd taste more like orange juice. But it's got that bitter. It's very citrusy.
Very citrusy.
No hops to this at all. I kind of personally would feel it would benefit from a little bit of hops. but the bite comes from the citrus flavor and the citrus that's in it.
Yeah, especially being an American, you know, one of the advantages that you have with any American beer is that you have these citrusy hops that are grown in America that become signatures to IPAs and pale ales and the American style of beer making. They almost like they have carte blanche to be able to throw those hops in and say, that's American. So I'm surprised they didn't go that style with this.
Yeah.
I think it would benefit. I think it would complement really well to have like a little citrusy hop at a little bit higher level than they have in there. It is really not bitter at all. You can barely any bitterness to it. Very, very citrusy.
Yeah. Goes down smooth. This
Very,
very smooth.
Really, really light on the mouthfeel. Very
light in the stomach. Actually, I've had nights where I've sucked down 4 or 5 of these. So
well, and wheat beers can be heavier. They can be more proteiny, with the heads. So it is kind of surprising that they were able to get it that way.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a summer afternoon kind of drink.
Oh yeah,
or a summer evening. This is something you want when it's hotter. You're going to enjoy this. And this beer, actually, in my opinion, is one of the few beers I've had that goes down noticeably better when it's cold versus when it's warm.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, it's so light in the body, so light in the mouthfeel. It's almost like you're not even drinking beer.
Fly's going to make me nuts.
So it's almost like you're not drinking beer. It's almost like it's some other kind of drink. But it's very enticing. I really, really enjoy it.
It's kind of got like that soury cider feeling going on, I think.
It does it, not with the sourness, but I see where you're coming from that. Because it has that citrusy tartness. Like you can taste it, you can smell it.
Yeah.
You even smell it while you're tasting it. It really is very, very present. They've done a great job on really infusing that.
And it's a good flavor, too, that's a strong flavor. It hits you. Mm-hmm. It's not like a lot of other beers we've tried on this channel where they seem to be kind of subdued down to appeal to a wider audience. I think this one is right there. It's tart. It hits you. It lets you know it's there. Like I said, I've enjoyed this beer, and I've chosen this beer over many other beers when, I had 15 taps on hand. So
yeah, I'd say if you're not a beer person, too, you probably would like this. So if you're someone who likes ciders and shandies and those other kind of style of beers, especially in the summer, and you see something like this, it doesn't really have that heaviness to it. So even like some of the Blue Moons, like Blue Moon, primarily it has some unique flavors, but it still really has a beer character to it.
It's a heavier drink too.
This almost doesn't have a beer character to it. So like I think the beer drinker would really like it because of the variety of what beer gives you. But if someone's not a beer drinker,
they could probably,
this would be a really good drink.
It'd be good for one. If you don't like beer, you don't like beer. But you'd be probably not too unhappy with having to suck down an entire one.
Yeah, I could just see someone who's a cider person going like, "Oh wow, I really like this." Even though it's obviously not a cider, it just has that kind of body and mouthfeel of what a cider would give you, where it doesn't have that thickness to it.
Yep.
And that's one of the drawbacks that I know a lot of people who don't like beer, they complain about is that it's heavy and it's heavy on them. This is really light. Presentation, I'm kind of middle of the road with it. I really love a thick, moussey head on a beer. Obviously, probably not appropriate for the style. You got a little bit more head than I did on mine. Could be the glass. It could be lots of different kind of things that cause that.
Me dumping it out.
Yeah, it could be. I do like the color. I like the cloudiness to it, especially with this kind of style beer, wheat beers. I'm almost turned off with the wheat beer if it's not cloudy. Yeah. For some reason, it almost seems unnatural. And just being a home brewer, like cloudy wheat beers, that's just kind of a thing. So I really enjoy the citrus color, citrus presentation to the smell.
smell.
So I think that really does move it up. I'm gonna probably give it like an 8. I feel really good about that.
Yeah. I really like the smell. I noticed when the first time I tried it, I was like, oh, I wonder what that is. Four Peaks has always done pretty good as far as I'm concerned with the styles that I like anyway. And I said, I'll give that a try. Well, you know, what the heck? And as soon as I like lifted it up, I could smell it before I could even take a drink out of it, to be honest with you, out of the pint glass. So I'm not going to be as high on the presentation as Dave is because I do like to see ahead. And to be honest, the color does kind of turn me off. So I'm going to go with a 7, mainly because, like I said, that smell just right there.
Yeah. When it comes to taste, I absolutely love the fact that it's so light because I think that really appeals to a really big market. The citrus flavor, like you get what you're smelling. Mm-hmm. You smell it, you also taste it, and they're very similar. And that's not always the same in beers. Often you're going to find something that may smell heavier but not deliver on the taste, and they do deliver on it. I wish it had more esters. So when I think wheat beer, you're given a gift, and this gift means that choose the right yeast, and you're going to be able to really kind of open up the character of essentially what a wheat beer can give you. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I think that, especially with an American beer, you're not as caught.
It's about to get in your drink.
Yep. So we're not as caught into the characteristics like you have to be this way, you have to be that way. American beer, you can be a little bit like this and a little bit like that. I would love to have seen them experiment a little bit maybe with the yeast and give me something that's a little bit more estery. So in the same thing, I'm not disappointed at all. It's a great beer. In fact, I would be happy sitting on the porch drinking this, especially in the summer. It's starting to get warm up here. I think we've seen a few days in the 90s already. So, I think that it's a good timing for it. I'm going to go with probably a 7 on the taste. Yeah.
I'm actually probably going to be like a 7.25, just because it is bold, it's strong, it lets you know it's there. It's a pleasant drink generally to consume, and I like it. Like I said, I've had other options that normally I would go to, and after having a couple of these, I'm completely content to go with the Joy Bus. So.
Do you know what it kind of reminds me of? Is remember when you were a kid and you had those little like orange, chewy kind of candies?
Yeah, they still sell those.
Do they still? Okay.
For an obscene amount of money, it seems.
But that's what it tastes like. Like those little like super orange,
sugar-covered things.
Sugar-covered. So it's got this sweet notes. It's got this really orange kind of character to it.
I'm not really getting that myself, but...
Yeah. For some reason, it's reminiscent to me. Overall impression, I'm pretty impressed with it. So I'm going to probably lean a little high on it because I think that they really delivered on it. And obviously, I can be really critical when it comes to what I would expect and what they could do out of it. Like I said, I think that they could add a little bit more bitterness to kind of balance it out. But they're not really making this for me. As, let's say, a beer critic, as much as they're making it for, like, maybe someone who is a cider drinker who would really enjoy drinking one of these. I think a lot of people really would. There's a big market for this.
I just want to say that the beer is not sweet. When he's talking about the bitter, he's talking about the hop balance. This beer actually leans more towards the sour spectrum. And I don't particularly care for sours, but this beer is not offensive that way to me. This beer is right there. It's right where it needs to be. It's about the way I feel about the Four Peaks Hop Knot. It's right where it needs to be before it's too much.
Yeah,
and my overall impression, aside from the fact I don't care much for the color and I don't care much for the head, I'm going to still stick it at about a 7 for my overall impression.
For overall?
Yeah.
So I'm doing an 8 on the overall. And then, because I really think that they've done a great job on delivering a product that really appeals to a wide market, that I think that will appeal to people who are maybe not beer drinkers, but also give a beer drinker something light that they can have as well and be a great beer. I mean, I'm a big fan of Four Peaks. For whatever reason, they've done a tremendous job because they're really kind of almost more of a commercial brewer now rather than just even a microbrewery. But just because they're so broad in regards to how they're delivering the beers. So if you get an opportunity, Four Peaks, Joy Bus, Wow Wheat, pick one up because they've really done a fantastic job. But 7 on a personal preference, mainly because when I think wheat beer, I'm going to really lean towards some of the more estery beers, Hefeweizens, things like that. I do like the Weiss beers. I'm probably going to lean more towards the Belgian Weiss, generally. But what do you think, personal preference-wise?
Oh, I'm going to go with a 7.5, actually, on the personal preference. Like I said, this is something like here in Phoenix, you can find yourself outside socializing with people on the patio or whatever. And I know that when it starts getting warmer, this beer is definitely going to be a lot more pleasant to drink just because it is light. It is, for lack of a better way of describing it, watery. But it's not like watered down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got an excellent flavor. It's got a phenomenal smell. And it's a 5% beer, so you don't have to worry about how drunk you're going to be after 3 of them. And it's something I could and have enjoyed numerous ones of in the evening. So, and it's a good, to me, it's a good kind of go-to thing.
I think I'd definitely pick some up here, especially heading into the summer. This would be a great beer to have around, especially people come over, have something light, sit on the porch and talk. I think that it's a fantastic job. Again, one more Four Peaks beer that we absolutely love. So it's local.
All right. Well, good evening. Cheers. Prost.
Hey, like and subscribe and share our content. We're trying to grow our channel and we need your support to be able to do it.
Do this now.
Please help us out. Thank you for watching.
Good night.